Yep.
What's up, everybody? We are back here on the New York Sports Take. So fired up for this one. Me and Tom going back and forth over text and Snapchat, just talking about how excited we were to record this episode because we have so much to get into. The New York Jets have won 3 out of their last 5 games, coming off a walk-off win over the Atlanta Falcons off of the leg of the Folk hero, 41-year-old Nick Folk, getting it done for the Jets. The New York Knicks right now stand at 14-7. They're 10-1 at MSG. And we have a very, very intriguing prospect of bringing in arguably the most talented player in the NBA. And that is where we're going to lead off. And Tom, you know what? I want to start off by saying this about the prospect of bringing in Giannis.
Yeah.
I like our roster. I think our roster has some holes. There's some things that need to be cleaned up in the early going. I think that we brought in the right coach, as we discussed on the first episode. I like Mike Brown's offensive principles. He's been around the block. He's led a team to the NBA Finals. He may not be as defensive, tough-minded as Tibbs is, but there's a lot of redeeming factors in Mike Brown and the way that he coaches a team. Particularly this team, we're growing. There's been peaks and valleys. And this current iteration of the Knicks has a chance to go to the NBA Finals. With that being said, when you really zoom out and think big picture, and you look at the roster, do they have a chance of winning in the NBA Finals? And that's where you kind of have to pause and think for a second, and the answer is probably no. Just how stacked the Western Conference is and everything, it feels like the Knicks' ceiling is just a really, really good basketball team that potentially could get through a rather weak Eastern Conference. That's just the reality of the situation. With that being said, if you bring in a guy by the nickname of the Greek Freak, number 34 in green, that's resided his whole career in the small town of Milwaukee. If you throw all your chips in the Giannis basket and you bring him in and you pair him with Jalen Brunson, then you are talking about potentially the best dynamic duo in basketball. And what wins NBA championships? Dynamic duos, power duos, superstars. Then all of a sudden, the rhetoric changes a little bit around the New York Knicks, and that is a potential championship team. So let me ask you, Tom, do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you think that incorporating a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo takes them from pretenders to real championship contenders?
That's a tough one because obviously I do think, if we say we brought in Giannis right now, we win the championship. But the question is, what would we have to give up to get Giannis? Because I'm knowing they're going to ask for a lot. I wouldn't want to trade Brunson, obviously, because that would screw everything up.
No, well, I don't think that would be the case.
And
Yeah.
a guy that they'd probably be interested in that to be honest, don't really want to trade at all is Cat. Cat has been an absolute beast this year. He's very much impressed me. So I wouldn't mind giving up a few first round picks for Giannis and a few guys. 100% if we got Giannis, I think we're the favorite to win it all. But it's got to be at the right price, and I just want to be smart about it because I don't want to screw up all the good things that we have going. So if we can come to a agreement where we're giving up a few first round picks and maybe a guy or two, I would love to do it. I'd be in favor, but I just don't want to screw everything else that we have good. So it kind of depends, what the price is. But if we can get him at the right price, I think it's a no-brainer because I saw that he said the Knicks were the only team he was really interested in. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, really the overarching question here is, and I just wanted to lead with the fact, like just what we know. What we know is that this current team that the Knicks have assembled is probably not winning an NBA championship. I said it once and it's worth repeating. It's just probably not the case. They're not good enough. There's too many teams in the Western Conference that are just simply pound for pound better than them. You bring in a guy like Giannis, that may change things in terms of the stardom that you're displaying between Jalen Brunson and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But then the bigger question becomes, who else is there? Because of the assets that we're giving up, the depleting assets on the rest of the roster really diminishes the depth, which may lead to a non-championship as well. You're essentially gutting the roster. Obviously, I think that it would include a guy like Karl Anthony Towns in the trade. But then that question also becomes, you could counter to that, and do the Milwaukee Bucks, seriously, if they have offers from other teams, would they want to take on a guy of Cat's deficiencies? Whether it be the off-ball defense that stinks, the inconsistency on offense, the stupid fouls that he commits, and just his just craziness on the court. Do the Bucks want that when they could potentially get somebody better with a higher ceiling that may fit their roster better? Other teams out there might be offering other things, but yeah, that's where it becomes such a tight game of, if you're the Knicks, what are you giving up? I mean,
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
heard
it's a tough question.
I heard BT and Sal on the radio today say, like, if they somehow were to pull this off, we might be looking at Tyler Kolek being like, the shooting guard, the first guy off the bench. Do you really want that? I mean, I like Kolek. I think he's a nice depth piece when injuries happen and whatever the case may be. But if you're relying on Kolek to be our next Deuce McBride, you might be in a little trouble there as far as depth goes. So let's try and get into the specifics of it a little bit and just how they would pull it off. Giannis's current salary right now per year is $54 million, and financially, that does kind of line up with Cat. Cat also sits in the lower $50 million range. So yeah, it would be feasible to swap, but we all know that's not going to happen. There's no way the Bucks
Yeah,
take that.
yeah, no
So, but as
chance.
far as salary goes, those two players match up, and I just think, especially if the Knicks pull this off in season, it would definitely be Cat in the deal, and other pieces obviously as well. But you're swapping the salaries there, no problem. Now, this is where it gets complicated, because it's a matter of who else are the Knicks willing to part ways with, and the Knicks would have a very difficult time parlaying the other players with draft picks, because we gave up 5 first-rounders to go get Bridges, as everybody knows, 2 off-seasons ago. So that is where you're probably looking at a third team coming into this deal to make this even feasible. And that's where things get really hairy. The other team would probably have to give Milwaukee the draft compensation that we'd be looking for. We would probably give Cat and another guy like an Anunoby over there, and and then probably a Deuce as well. So that's where it gets really hairy for me, Tom. I'm just thinking, it would have to include Cat, right? Would you agree with that off the bat?
Yeah, it pretty much would. Yeah, yeah.
And what other players would you be willing to part with? And put it this way, it's a hard question to frame, but what would be the max, final, let's put you on the make-believe phone right now, okay? You're Leon Rose. You're going back and forth. Now, Milwaukee's getting calls from all over the place, so you don't really have the leverage to get too cute with Milwaukee on the phone and be going back and forth. You want to make your aggressive offer early. You don't want to tool around here. So what's your final offer to the Milwaukee Bucks? What is the utmost compensation that you're willing to give up?
That's a tough question. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously we talked about how it'd have to include Cat, but from watching the Knicks this year, Cat's really impressed me. He's been unbelievable. Um,
Late night last night,
so
yeah.
so it would be him. I feel like I don't want to give up Deuce McBride, but I feel like that's probably the only way, that because they're not going to do it straight up. And if obviously I would do some draft picks with Cat, but I don't think that we have that many first rounders coming up after the McHale trade. So it kind of depends. If we can get away without giving away Deuce McBride, I'd be pretty intrigued to it. But I feel like they'd probably ask for a guy like him, and I don't think I'd be willing to do that. So if they value like Landry Shamet or like Kolek or any of those guys, but I wouldn't give up any of our because, like I talked about before, there's a fine line between getting a guy like Giannis to win a chip, but you don't want to screw all the good things you have up. So it's really a tough question. I don't know, to be honest. Like I think there'd have to be a third team involved as well. So
Yeah, no, it's
it's a
just
tough one.
not.
It's not an easy question to answer. Like, and the bottom line is, if it makes sense, there's a no-brainer, but you got to be smart about it. Like, because I don't see the Bucks letting Giannis go without getting a crap ton in return.
Yeah, no, there's no way. They're struggling right now. I think they're 1 or 2 games under 500, which actually shocks me a little bit because I thought, obviously, this whole thing, there have been stirrings about Giannis potentially coming to the Knicks for years now. And then over this offseason, Shams reported that if Giannis were to be traded, the Knicks would be his preference. When he was asked, when the media approached him about that, he
That's
vehemently
huge, by
shut
the
it
way.
down.
That's
Yeah,
huge, by the way,
he's
because he did shut it down. He did shut it down, but I
that's what
feel
he's
like,
gonna, that's what he's going to
yeah,
do, though. He's not
yeah.
going to. Yeah.
And Giannis is the type of guy, he's not going to leave the Milwaukee Bucks if he doesn't think he can win a championship. If he goes to the Knicks, he's only going there to win a championship. He's not one of the players that just wants to come to get more recognition or more stats or anything. He wants to win. And that's what I like about him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, man, a lot of the best stars in the NBA and guys that we've seen go in these super deals and these mega deals and whatever in yesteryears, they carry so much baggage. I mean, you think about the super team that the Nets assembled a few years ago back in the 2019 free agency. That was a different. That wasn't even trades, but the chemistry, the chemistry was what really was their downfall. Ultimately, they bring in the big three of Kyrie, KD, and Harden, and they were just, first of all, health-wise, they were never on the court together, and that deterred them. But even further than that, it was just a constant drama back and forth, and Steve Nash, and now you even see Nash and KD on podcasts reporting that the buy-in wasn't there from everybody, and Harden and Kyrie may have had one foot out the door. They were really pointing their finger towards Kyrie in that podcast. But like, you just think about that in the NBA and all these different stars. Ben Simmons when he was really good and all the baggage that he carried. Giannis is one of those really rare guys. Even like Luka, I think for the most part is like put his head down, hard basketball worker. He did shit all the way this offseason. Respect his work ethic and whatever. But even he's had like drama issues in the past. Just, I would say 90% of the superstars in the NBA just have some sort of peripheral crap that they bring along with you. Giannis is not one of those guys. He's pretty much, we'll talk about the injury in a little bit, but he's now sidelined, and this is going to hold the whole thing up. At least, what is it, Tom? 2 to 4 weeks or 3 to 6 weeks?
It was a calf strain, so I think 2 to 4 weeks about.
2 to 4 weeks.
And then they'll reevaluate him and see.
Yeah, and the reports
So,
were
those can linger, so you got to be careful.
those can linger, and apparently, like they were looking. I didn't see the replay. I don't know if you did, but apparently, in like real time when they went through the replay, it actually, and they can be a precursor to Achilles injuries. These calf strains or whatever, and it really looked like in real time on that replay like it was an Achilles or an ACL. So now we have that to factor into this whole thing. Do you want to
100%,
trade? Do you
100%.
want to trade for a superstar that might be he's still in his prime, but trade for a guy on the back end of his prime that has now just endured an injury, which is like the number one precursor to Achilles tears, and we all know how deadly those can be, detriment to a player's career. So we'll see how that whole thing plays out. But just back to what I was saying about his work ethic. Tell me if you agree with this or not. Like, he is just the kind of guy that is different from most superstars in the NBA in terms of his capacity to just go out, be tenacious, and have the winning mentality on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. he's you know what you're getting out of Giannis. You're getting a guy that is going to compete every single night from start to finish, and he's not going to cause any drama, and he wants to make his teammates better and support them, and most importantly, he's he's ready. Like he's just an animal. He's just a game changer. Like he's an animal. Like it's rare to see that in 2025. Like his personality and how good he is as a
Yeah.
teammate and player.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to wrap up as far as what it would take to get him. Now let's look at play style a little bit here because Giannis is you. So you're getting rid of Cat. You're bringing in Giannis, who is a better defensive player. However, with this being said, this deal is not getting done without a Cat and one of our perimeter wing defenders in OG Anunoby or Michael Bridges. Now, Bridges isn't even eligible to be traded until February here, so we'd have to kick the road down the road a little bit, so to speak, if it were to be Bridges in this deal. So, yes, you are getting a better defender in Giannis. You're losing some size there. Obviously, Giannis is a little bit more of a fluid player, does some more talented player than Cat as well, obviously. But you're losing size in Cat, and more importantly, which is just so paramount in today's NBA, Tom, especially come playoff times, you're losing an elite perimeter wing defender. We've already seen this year in the Knicks 14-7 start, and now this last few games without OG, that Boston game, even yesterday letting the Hornets creep back in there, the impact of not having that defensive presence there. And that is being deployed by bringing in a guy like it. How much would that hurt the Knicks? Like, sure, you're reaping the rewards of two unbelievably dynamic offensive players in Jalen and Giannis. But you're losing guys and we saw it with Bridges in the postseason against Boston, like the impact that being a high-level defensive player can do. Where do you go from there? Do you try and make another trade? I mean, your assets are so depleted outside of your best two players there. Like that's just my biggest concern about the whole thing. You?
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting, right? Because you're losing a lot on the defensive end because you most likely have to give up OG or Deuce McBride with Cat. So you're not only losing defense in that deal, but you're also losing some shooting because Cat's one of the best
Yeah.
3-point shooters, bigs, and OG's been good stretching the floor from the corner three, and we know how good Deuce is at shooting. So you're definitely losing, and like I've seen in the playoffs, it doesn't matter how good you are offensively. If you can't defend, you're not going to win a championship, and that's the ultimate goal in the trade. So that's kind of where it gets interesting. It's
Yeah,
going to come down, yeah. It really
I
comes
just
down to
don't.
can we get the fair, like, can we make it a reasonable deal, like, and then it's a no brainer. But it's going to be a tough one for sure.
Yeah, it's tough to pull off. Like I just think about this team, and again, your Towns has so many problems on particularly like I think this year, and he talked about it over the summer too. His offensive game, he's one of the best big man shooting threes of all time. We all know that. His 3-point percentage this year has been down. It's well below 40%. It fluctuates night by night. When he looks to drive first and the three is more of a secondary part of his game, he's a lot more successful from three. But we all know the shot that he brings. Giannis doesn't have that good of a 3-point shot. He does other things well, like getting to the lane and
Everything
finishing.
else, pretty much.
Everything else, pretty much. Even his midi this year looked so
Yeah.
sharp the few times he played against the Knicks. Dropped 30 at the Garden their last time out there. But I don't know, man. I'm in favor of it, and solely based off of the premise that you're bringing in, maybe the most star-studded player in basketball, a two-time MVP, still in his prime, and he just instantly propels us into a
For sure.
championship favorite in the Eastern Conference for a
Yeah.
franchise that has been long starved to get to an NBA Finals. Hasn't done it since '93. So that's why I'm in favor of it, but the depth is just not there. And again, you're even losing shooting in the form of, like you said, like a Michael or Anunoby, who is one of the best corner three-point shooters in
Yeah,
basketball.
100%.
And then defensively, you're still you still have a guy who struggles overall in Brunson on defense. Now, what this would enable the Knicks to do, Tom, which is interesting, is it would allow them to have Mitch is probably still here, so you don't have to
Yeah, I
worry
agree.
about floor clogging. And you're still getting the offensive rebound production out of him and defensive rebounds, barring his health, which is always a major question. And as far as like on court, it would enable the Knicks, and I've seen this the few times these two teams have played, and Mike Brown wants to do it. The Knicks are still not quite there as far as pace goes. Mike Brown's been stressing it since day one he got hired. He wants to play run and gun. He wants to chuck a ton of threes. And he wants to push that. He wants to get out onto the court and you know basketball and get the line almost like the three-man weave. He just wants to get out there and go. And Giannis really does push the pace well with Brunson. I think their two-man game would be so electric. You know, you could still utilize Brunson and Isa. Both of them are such great isolation players, and there'll be points in time when they could just kind of do their own thing. But I think they'll feed well off each other too. And you're shipping out a guy, Cat, who still doesn't really know his place in this Mike Brown offense and is slow. He just can't keep up with the kind of pace that Mike Brown wants to play.
Yeah.
So it would clean up the transition thing a little bit. But
Transition and defense, yeah.
just to put a bow on it, and like I said, the Knicks, you know, they had it. It's just tough, Tom, because they had an opportunity to do this. A, it would have made more sense to do it in summer, and B, you zoom out the lens all the way here. You know, the Bucks were somewhat engaged in potentially moving off of him before the Knicks, you know, extended OG Anunoby and brought in Bridges and traded for Towns in the big offseason 2 years ago. If the Bucks were a little bit more outwardly on this, the Knicks had a perfect opportunity with all their draft capital to pounce on it then. And we could be talking about Giannis as a Knick right now.
I
That was
agree.
really the optimal time to do it. But, you know, they weren't shopping him at the time. The Knicks were looking for alternative ways to turn themselves into a playoff team, to a championship contender. So they did it in the form of bringing in other imports, and Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, and giving up a shit ton of draft capital. And now they're in a position where it becomes really tough. Like, this is the current team that's supposed to do it. But I don't know. I love Giannis. I've always loved watching him, so I'd be
Me
willing to
too,
go
yeah.
hard for it. I would be uber aggressive in trying to make it happen. But like I said, the window now
It's
now
tough
there's
now. It's
so much,
tough.
and the second Abram, and we didn't really even talk about the financials. The only thing I mentioned is that his salary and Cat's salary somewhat match up. But then also, you're looking at the Knicks trying to stay under the second apron and everything, and how that whole thing plays out. So there's also so much more that goes into it. But anyway, we'll leave it at that for now. Let's talk a little bit about this current Knicks team and how they've looked so far. As I mentioned at the top of the show, 14-7 on the year. Tom, they've been home cooking at the Garden. I don't know if you watched yesterday's game. It was There's my problem right now with this Knicks team and how they look. They have to be able to, against good and bad, what was it, 14-point lead in the first quarter against the Celtics yesterday.
Yep.
You know, you talk about this in basketball all the time. You got to find ways to keep the pedal to the metal. And against both good and bad teams this year, Tom, it seems like the Knicks, game in and game out, usually they're winning at some point in the game and the lead begins to soften. It's just something they got to work on in my eyes.
I agree. Yeah. It's tough. Like, basketball is a sport where you let up for a minute and the other team could go on a 7-0 run and that can change the entire game. So, I mean, I know Mike Brown's emphasizing it to him, but sooner than later they gotta keep the medal from. I know Brunson talks about it a lot. You got from
You
start to
talked about it
finish.
yesterday,
You
yeah.
got you got to keep it down. So I do think they're gonna get it together and will pick up on that problem, but they got to do it sooner or later, especially with the hopes that they have this season.
Yeah, on Tuesday, they were up by 11 after the first quarter. Then they were outscored by 17 in the second quarter, and then it kind of got off the rails from there. And they do a good job of doing it to other teams. Like they pulled back to get within close to that game against Boston. Later in that game, where they pulled it within about 2:50 to go, 3-point game. Bridges
Yeah,
was lighting it up from three. He couldn't
yeah,
miss.
that was insane.
That was a fun game. That was a wild ride. I heard Wally Zerbiak say this on the post game, like just because of the magic that took place at TD Garden in the postseason last year. You forget how hard it is to win up there, especially against a hungry Celtics team that's looking to take down a Knicks team that beat them last year. Like, you forget it's one of the toughest places to play in basketball, with a lead or without one. And the Celtics, to their credit, and Mike Brown gave them credit in the post game too, and very much deserved. Like, they played a very crisp game. What was that kid, Tom? The kid that got White, number 27. He was getting big offensive rebounds for
Yeah.
them.
Oh yeah. Yes. What was his name? I
Something
know.
White, I think. Yeah, I
Walsh.
never
I
heard of
think
him.
Walsh. Walsh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good pull right there, Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was a beast on the glass. He kind of reminded me of a little bit of Hartenstein when he was on the Knicks.
that was what Hartenstein was doing in our playoff run two
Yeah.
years ago. Big offensive rebounds.
And it changed the game.
It changed the game, man. I still miss I Hart. I
Me
really
too.
do. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, that game was a tough one, Tom. I feel like that's one issue with the Knicks, okay? And it's something that I'm not going to overstress just due to where we are in the calendar year right now. It's only December. Feels like sense of urgency and putting teams away is something that could kind of be a little bit more enforced and forceful towards the end of the season. But one thing that concerns me now, which I think if nothing major happens and Giannis doesn't come in here, and we're carrying this current iteration of the team into springtime, is that when they get knocked on their backside, Tom, we saw Orlando come into the Garden and do it. We saw Boston second quarter, their defense the other night. They started to get a little bit more physical and handsy. We saw them do it. Even the Raptors, when they pulled within close in that game, they started to get really physical. We see all these teams that have come in here and they emphasize playing a physical brand of basketball against the Knicks. Chicago did it on the road. Chicago now stinks, but when they were hot and had their best start since the Jordan days, they did it to the Knicks. When they push us around a little bit, they make us feel the pressure. Doesn't seem like the Knicks are getting comfortable in their offensive sets. The ball is very stagnant in the half court. And Mike Brown always talks about it. He just doesn't want to be fast and moving in the full court and spray outs and gunning the ball down the floor. He also wants to be fast and fluid and moving the ball in the front court too. And when the Knicks play these really physical teams, it's something that they've struggled mightily with. How do you see them being able to turn? I know we're not the coach. We don't have the whiteboard in our hands, but like they're a very good offensive team. I think they rank fourth in total offense right now by all accounts. But they're not good enough. They're just not good enough to be able to play a soft brand of basketball and just run teams off the floor with their points. They have to toughen up a little.
In my opinion, I think the 3-point shooting is great, and I'm very happy that we take a lot of threes and make a lot of threes. But in my opinion, we got to emphasize getting to the rack early. I think that'll kind of open the game up. They got to draw some fouls and not just live and die by the three a little bit. Like I think if you put pressure on teams early, it'll only open up the three more, and it'll cause them to be in foul trouble, and they won't be able to be as aggressive as teams have been because once you're in foul trouble, you can't be as aggressive. So I think if I was a coach, I'd emphasize them to get to the rack early, and like we were talking about, run and gun. You
Yeah,
know,
one particular player that you could definitely pin that sentiment on is Cat. Because, listen, we saw it against Brooklyn the other night. I think he dropped 37, close to 40 in that game. We saw it last night too. When this guy is at his best, he is establishing himself in the paint early and firing away the trays from downtown. Cat is never going, and we saw earlier in the year when, like I said, he discussed not really knowing his role on this team, where he fits in. He was heaving threes 5-6 feet beyond the three-point arc. That's just not going to cut it for him. He's not that kind of player. I know you're a great three-point shooting big man, but you're not Steph Curry. You're good at shooting 1 to 2 feet from outside the line, dude. Like, just know your role. Not many players can do that. You're not one of them. That's another issue I have for him. Establishing himself in the paint early, taking the mismatches. The other night, he was one-on-one with Nick Claxton, and he was just freaking grilling him to the basket. That's the way it has to be. When he's getting down and dirty early, that's the Cat that we know and love. Last night, that's what he did. And then that Brooklyn game, he didn't shoot a three. He went, I think, 3 or 4, or maybe he was only 2 or 3 against the Nets last week. But he didn't shoot a 3 until the third quarter. And that's what I love to see. And then it comes to him. Then teams are going to be so fixated and focused on trying to protect the rim against him, and they might double him, and he might be able to leak out or go to his favorite spot, the top of the key, for a quick catch and shoot, put it up and drain it. That's the Cat that we're looking for. And he had one of those nights last night. 18 boards. He's been really good. I think he's 4th in the NBA in defensive rebounds this year. 18 boards last night. Tied a career high, 5 assists, and of course 35 points. I think he was pretty efficient from the floor as well. So very, very good night for the Knicks. Anything left that you have to say right now just about the state of the current team? Another thing I'll add is that I wouldn't get too worked out about the Celtics game, because we hung in with the Celtics on which a night where our best player, our pride and soul, the face of our franchise, was horrible. And that's just something that's not going to happen often. And you might get in a handful of those games throughout the course of an 82-game season, but just not something that happens often. So I'm not going to really stress about JB playing poorly in that game. The Knicks are just not going to win games when he plays that bad. It's as simple as that. So that's why I'm kind of washing that one away. Boston's not bad this year. They're more competitive than I thought they would be too. So, but any closing remarks regarding the Knicks?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to mention that. Like, I don't think you can get too worked up about it, because Brunson played probably his worst game of the season. And in my opinion, it's not even, I think it was kind of a good thing to experience that, because we need to see other guys step up when that happens, because there might be a playoff game or two if that it does happen. So I can't get too worked up about it. The Knicks are doing a lot of good things, and I think they'll be fine going forward.
Yep, there's no doubt. That's just where we're at right now. And the team, they're 14-7. I can't believe that we're already like a quarter way through the season, just about. It's just crazy. It flew by. I remember when we restarted the recalibration, whatever you want to say, of the New York sports take. It was like the night before opening night against the Cavs at the Garden. And now here we are, the NBA schedule. I know it's a long season. It's like 6 or 7 months, but in my eyes, it just really flies by. Let's talk some Jets, Tom. Okay, I mean, I was so excited. I was in the building on Sunday against the Falcons.
You were?
Yeah, I was at the game. You didn't know?
I didn't even know that.
Oh, man. I just wanted to have a day with me. It was lovely. I went with my mother, just me and her. You know, we got to go to a game. We'll talk about this off the air. But Jets-Patriots, December 28th. We better do a group thing. We better go to that game.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you want to come too, hit us up. We'll do maybe a group thing.
We'd love to do some interactive things too. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, man. 3 out of the last 5. We're still 3-9. We're still most likely, barring a few scenarios, going to be eliminated from playoff contention following this week against Miami. Although I do think this is a very winnable game, and we need a division win. So we'll preview that a little bit as well moving forward here. But Tom, when we started 0-7, it was just so incredibly difficult to find any reason to be optimistic and positive about the future of the franchise under Aaron Glenn. I was kind of almost at the point where I was like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm an impulse fan. It's just the way I operate. I operate with a lot of emotion. At that point, 0-7, following that loss in Denver, tumultuous end to the first half, and just the way everything had gone down up until that point, my hope, to be completely honest with you, was just that we would lose the F out, go 0-17, everything would just crash and burn, and it would be the biggest nightmare season possible so that we can fire Aaron Glenn because he's stupid and I don't want any part of him moving forward. But I'll tell you what, 3 wins has completely changed my perspective, and you probably think I'm crazy, but it really has, and it's less about the results and more about the way that the team's been playing for him since we traded 2 out of our 3 best players. And he has just shown an unbelievable ability to have these guys in this locker room buy into his message. I mean, you just see it, Tom, like the way they celebrated after that win yesterday. It felt like they clinched the playoffs. The sidelines going crazy. Aaron Glenn's post-game locker room speeches, they never disappoint. He's so electric in there, pounding his fist, getting it, who's going to fly with the Jets, pounding the game ball, throwing it in the chest of Nick Foles, saying, I played with this guy. The vibes are so high right now. Can you speak as to just how great the vibes are around this team and how your perspective has shifted since we're walking off the field 0-7 against, I guess, what was the peak of 0-7, the week before Cincinnati? I can't even remember. But
Yeah,
just
I
how your
tried to
mindset
forget about that.
shifted from then to now, these last 5 weeks, these last 6 weeks, including the bye, grabbing 3 wins.
Yeah, obviously you got to give the Jets some credit. They didn't win a game the first 7 weeks, and then they traded to Quinn Williams and Sauce Gardner, and everybody thought, this season's over. Let's just lose out and get the first overall pick. But to the Jets' credit, they did the complete opposite and have now won 3 games. And to be honest, they're looking pretty good. Like they look like they're playing for each other. They're still motivated, and Aaron Glenn's getting a lot out of these guys, and it's very nice to see. And I don't want to give I know it's a bit weird to say, but the special teams has been unbelievable. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's really winning us. That's the difference in these games. Like, I never thought a special teams could change the game so much, but it really has. Like, that's a big reason because, the Jets are not going to blow anyone out. We both know that. So there's got to be a few plays in the game where you got to have the difference, and it's been on the special teams.
Jet special teams unit had an EPA. That's a fun football stat for anybody that doesn't know it. It's like a little bit of it. It's expected points added. So it's a quarterback metric. It could be a unit metric. It's almost like WAR in baseball is the best comp that I have for it. They had an unbelievably high EPA, 15.22 against Atlanta. That's the second best single game performance of any special teams in the NFL this year. It's also the second best for the Jets in 25 years, since 2020. The unit ranks 3rd in NFL EPA for the season. They lead the league in average kick return yardage, 9th in punt return average, 2nd lowest opponent punt return average, and 1st in special teams touchdowns. We saw 2 of those against Cleveland, one from Nwangwu and one from Williams. Listen, man, so they're 3rd in EPA, but it may just because I watched 3 hours of the Jets every week and I don't watch the full game for any other team, red zone, whatever. The Jets have the best special teams in football. And it's unbelievable. The individuals who have stepped up into just massive, massive roles. You talk about Isaiah Williams. He's a guy right here who scratched and clawed his way into a roster spot. Had a pretty impressive camp. Had a pretty impressive preseason games as well. Xavier Gibson loses his job week 1 against the Steelers after muffing a kick return. Aaron Glenn with the instant accountability thing gets rid of him. See ya out the door. Signs with Philly. How you doing? He stinks for Philly. Drops one for them. And Isaiah Williams has taken this job by the throat and he's run with it. He has been so good. He had an 82-yard return, set up a game-tying field goal kick from Nick Folk. Last week against the Falcons, Nwangwu's great. Feels like those 2 guys, Tom, are just can talk about Nwangwu and Williams. Like anytime they touch the ball, they are total game breakers. They can change a game at any point. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's almost like at this point you're expecting like now my thought is how far are they going to return it instead of like,
Right.
oh, let's see if they get a decent return. You know it's going to be a good return, just how good is the question now, it feels like almost.
It's almost like prime when we would watch the games in your basement, like watching prime Braxton Berrios take the ball.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of like he kind of also had that vibe. I
You
think.
feel that vibe where you this guy could really break one. Like,
Yeah, no, I don't have the numbers on me for Berrios and that's that. It was 2020 when we won 2 games. I think was his best year, and that was like the thing the Jets did best that season. Now there's actually other units stepping up and doing some really good things. We'll talk about the corners a little bit coming here too. But yeah, you're totally right. Like they return the ball, against Cleveland back to back. When's the last time you seen that happen? Nwango's was 99 yards to the house. Like you just don't see that on from other teams in the NFL. On the spin side of that, watching Justin Fields play, you don't see as bad as quarterback performances across the rest of the NFL as his. But
yeah.
hey, that's not what we're here to talk about. Justin Fields is buried in the bench right now. But yeah, I mean, listen, Glenn, worst statistical start in Jets history, which is saying something because Adam Gase and Rick Kotite coach this fucking team. Okay, Adam Gase and Rich Kotite, the worst coaches not in the Jets history, arguably in the history of football. You want to throw Joe Judge into that conversation? Go ahead. And yet Aaron Glenn got off to a worse start than them, believe it or not, in terms of record. And just a vibe. And listen, this team's not perfect. We'll talk about the roster and stuff like that in the offseason. But I just wanted to, hand out our flowers and talk about how great the vibes are. And then last thing to touch on before we really talk about like the future and other things you like and whatever. But as far as Nick Folk goes, I heard I saw Joe B say that on his WFAN spot on Monday or Tuesday, whenever he's on with Evan and Tiki. The New York Jets should have never let Nick Mangold, rest in peace. The New York Jets should have never let Nick Folk go, okay? He walked it off against Peyton Manning in his last game as an Indianapolis Colt in an AFC divisional game. He was the last kicker this year to be perfect. He was perfect up until last game, 40 or whatever it was. He's just Mr. Consistent. I don't even know what the number was exactly, but he had prior to the Jets, just bouncing around with Tennessee and New England. He had this ridiculous record going of like most makes inside of 50 of all time. He like literally couldn't miss inside of 50 yards. He's just so reliable, so good. And the Jets, we saw it last year. I mean, Greg Zuerlein was and Greg was great the past few seasons, but Greg was part of the reason why last year blew up in our face. He lost us games literally on his leg. I mean, the kicking position's important, and one of the many, many mistakes that previous Jet GMs and regimes have did was not retain Nick Folk. I guess it was Mike McCagden's administration at that point in time that didn't do it. But this guy's so good. Anyway, earlier in the game against Atlanta, he misses a 54-yarder, one that was 1 yard shorter. And then, what do you know? Armand Membu takes a couple dumb penalties there. He's been so good all year long. I don't want to rip on the kid. Very out of character for him to do that, but he's a rookie. It happens. He takes a penalty on that drive. There it is. Tom, what's going through your mind as Nick Folk lines one up? And I had great seats, man. I was in section 108, row 8, so I had a really good view of it. I should have recorded it, but I was so excited I couldn't even pull out my little camera over here. What's going through your mind as, he misses one from 54, then he lines up for 55, and he just slices a 2-iron. It's a little line drive,
Yeah.
like a Frisbee shot. Did you think that was going in? What was going through your mind?
Honestly, I thought like before he kicked it, I thought that he was gonna make it just because he's been Mr. Consistent all season. I can't see him missing 2 in a row, but yet again, it is not an easy kick, so I knew it'd be close. And when it was up, I was like, this is gonna be good. Just it's gonna be close with the distance, and he
Right.
got it, man. I mean, it just shows like he still got it, and like you were saying, like I've watched so many games this year where the difference has been the kicking. I see you see it more and more every year, so it's just really nice. Like he's a true Jet, like, and he deserves it, man. He really does.
Yeah, this just came to my mind too. He's 41. Think about across the league, the renaissance of kickers in the league who are hitting these ridiculous, and he may not have the leg of, Brandon Aubrey
Yeah,
or some of these other young kickers throughout the NFL who are just hitting kicks like we've
70
never seen.
yarders.
Yeah, 65, 70 yarders like we've never seen before. Yeah, Nick Folk doesn't have that in him. I think his career long is 55, so he's not capable of that. But for him to be in his 18th season, I think, or 20th season in the NFL, and he's kept up like we see the new generation of quarterbacks in the NFL. This is a new millennium of kickers that we're seeing across football too, and he's still doing it, man. He was kicking with the Patriots kicker, Garnowski or whatever, and all these guys, Mason Crosby and whatever. He was part of that generation, and he's become part of the new one too. And he's kept up, and he's been one of the most consistent out of the whole bunch.
That's right.
Hats off to him, man. He's just been so good. I love watching him. I would listen to his post game press conference. He's hysterical. He talked about his kids. His kids were like, "Well, Dad, what happened on the first one?" Knocking a little bit of humility into him too. So great to see that go through. Anyway,
100%.
yeah, we could stop gushing about that and move on here. And some of the young pieces stepped up in that game as well, Tom. I mean, Zaire Thomas, Malachi Moore, the offensive line. Like, they're just doing such a great job, all of them right now. Let's talk about
Mitchell
Darren Bougie.
breakout game too.
What?
Mitchell breakout game too was good to see.
Dude, the Mitchell touchdown was electric, man. That was such a great touchdown. 52 yards. I texted you this. He was the only receiver in football last week over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah,
Listen, man, A.D. Mitchell's a player, and Aaron Glenn talked about this in the post game. And in his eyes, this may be true, but in our eyes, it's not. He said, "We've had our eye on this player for a very long time. Your scouting department, everybody's had an eye on him. I don't doubt that." And he claimed that he was not just a throw-in the Sauce Gardner deal. He was more significant than just an add-in piece to the 2 first-rounders. Well, I'll tell you, at least where I'm sitting, from a fan's point of view, he's a throw-in. The 2 first-rounders is obviously the meat of the Sauce Gardner deal. Like, that's why we made the deal. That was the needle mover. That was ultimately what got it done. But this potentially, Tom, is what I'll define. Maybe it has the potential to be one of the great throw-ins in football history because this guy's potential is off the charts. He creates so much separation. He's got these long, lanky arms. He's this X-type receiver, almost like a Corey Davis, right? Remember him from like 5
yep,
years ago or whatever, where he's got
yep.
the length, he's got the size, he's athletic, and I think he's motivated too. Like, it's just so great because this going into this year, the biggest knock on Darren Mushi, and it wasn't the right thing to do. It was an ill-prepared move by Darren Mushi to literally go into this 2025 season with 0 receiving depth outside of Garrett Wilson. Now, did I
Yep.
see us trading 2 out of our 3 best players midseason? No. But you got to tip your cap to Muji in this regard. By the end of the year, hopefully, and I know these performances have been up and down. Mitchell didn't do anything the first 2 games. It was Mechie. Then Mechie didn't have a great game last time around. He had a few drops. But just think about it, man. Like, by the time season wraps up, I mean, we could have a receiving room on top of getting our WR2 in the draft. And A.D. Mitchell's great. Mechie's shown flashes. What have you liked from you seen with these? What have you liked that you've seen from these guys?
Yeah, I've liked a lot. Like if now talking about next year, if you give me Garrett Wilson, a rookie, Mechie, and Mitchell, that is a solid receiving core. And like Mechie's been very good past few games. He's been great. This game he had some drops, but I really liked what I saw from Mitchell. So it just shows when we get Garrett Wilson back healthy, and if we draft a receiver, that's a legit wide receiver core. The difference from the beginning of the year to looking at next year, that's some threats. And then you got the tight end who's been pretty good, and obviously you got Brees, and then hopefully, which we'll get into later, that's why even though we're winning a lot of games, it's really tanking our draft position, which has been hurting. It'd be nice if we would won before going 0-7, but that's the other flip of the coin. Like, I think no matter what, we need a quarterback. So it's really tough. Like, it's great to win these games, but every game we're winning, we're really dropping in the draft position, which really hurting us too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is obviously the main argument that discourse happening amongst Jet fans right now is whether they have the desire to be winning these games and whatever. But I'll go back to what I was saying to start the Jet segment, and I think that culture building and buy-in and the leadership that's been displayed, and these guys, these key foundational young players, learning how to win is more important than anywhere that you could fall on the draft board, in my opinion. Because, Tom, the Jets have a lot of players on this roster right now who are part of the long-term solution moving forward. Can A.Z. Thomas be a valid cornerback too in the NFL? Can Malachi Moore be a starting safety for you next year? Your entire offensive line, you got your two bookends in Olu and Membu. Like, these guys want to be bought. They want the right infrastructure. They want to be part of a winning culture, and that's what Glenn has been able to do now in this little stretch here. Obviously, not this year. So yeah, and couple that on top of the fact that we got 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. So all of the draft compensation that we have to utilize, we're still not going to. It's not like we're going to end up with like the 15th pick here. Okay, we're 3-9. I know that there's some really bad teams in front of us, but the Jets aren't falling into the late first round. Everybody's got to calm their tortillas a little bit here. Okay, we're still fine. We are still totally fine. We're probably going to end up with the top 10. Worst case scenario, it's like 10 or 11. And that's literally if, what do we have, 5 games left? Or 6?
I can't believe we're still in the race and the Giants are eliminated. That's pretty funny.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, we're not in the race. I mean, mathematically.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, it's crazy
Yeah.
that mathematically we're not
I
eliminated
have a
yet.
chance of leaving this room and dying.
We are guaranteed another losing season, though, for I think the 10th season in a row.
Yep, and it will be, once this season's all said and done, it's going to be 15 straight years without the playoffs too. So that's nice, longest. But no, we're focused on the positives today, Tom.
There is a lot of positives though, so like we got to be happy with that and cherish what we have, and it's looking pretty good moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and just as far as the rest of the game, like 2 other things, winning this particular game against the Falcons. I thought Tyrod was fine. 172 yards. I think he completed just over 50% of his passes. He hit Mitchell. He had a 10-yard scramble touchdown, which was huge. He also took a bad sack a couple drives before that. He used his legs. Very impressive. Almost like flashes of Tyrod, back in the heyday with the Bills, the way that he was
Yeah, I
able to
like that.
utilize
I
his
like
legs
that
a
he
little
used his
bit.
legs.
Picking up some first downs. Feels like he's got a much better internal clock. I could talk about he's got a vastly better arm than Justin Fields. We all know that. But even, Fields is obviously faster and more athletic, has a better, legs. But Tyrod Taylor's internal clock's a lot better. Like, he just seems to have a much better idea of when to take off with the football than Justin Fields does. So, yeah, he uses legs at timely opportunities. I thought his arm was okay. He made the throws he had to. He had the bomb to Mitchell to start off the third quarter there and tie the game. Through next-gen stats, I thought that throw was like 59 yards through the air, which is pretty impressive. That's a bomb. So, yeah, it might be to the level of, like, I don't know, Russell Wilson. His arm's diminished a little bit. The guy's like 40, but the arm's still there a little bit. He's done some things well, no doubt about it. And you like what you see from him. But for this team now, Tom, to win To win that Cleveland game, to hang tough in that Baltimore, one score game time in the fourth quarter in that Ravens and that Patriots game. Like, say what you will, I think one of the games we beat I think we beat the spread actually in both games too. So say what you will, the stupid penalties were bad during that game. The Ravens game, I thought Glenn made a bad decision to go for it in 4th and 2 from whatever it was, our own 42-yard line in the third
Yeah.
quarter. I thought that really swung the momentum poorly for us. So there was some bad decision making, some bad defense, and the games didn't go. I'm not going to sit here and applaud both. There were losses, but against two football teams that are just simply way better than we are anyway. So like, I'm not going to really harp on that too much. I'm just not. I thought that those games, I'll take more positives away from negatives in both those games. And this whole stretch throughout Tyrod, competing against two really good teams and winning a couple games with just competent quarterback play, almost like back in the Zach Wilson days when we had those elite defenses. And we were saying all we need to be a playoff team and maybe a Super Bowl team is literally competent quarterback play. We are now winning with competent quarterback play. Tyrod Taylor is not playing spectacular or great by any stretch of the imagination. He's simply getting the job done. And even Breece Hall. Breece Hall was huge in that Cleveland win. But even Breece Hall, who's been great this year, I'm not trying to knock him, he only had 72 yards rushing that game, and we still won. We won through intermediate passing and finding A.D. Mitchell and, getting back-to-back stop 3-and-outs when we needed to against Atlanta. So finding alternative ways to win, that's huge too. You love to see it. The corners were great. I want to wrap up on the Jets here real quick so we can just run through the Giants. The corners were great though, Tom. Brandon Stevens has been. Can we give our flowers a little bit to Brandon Stevens here, because he's a guy that was just getting. Everybody thought it was an overpay, whatever the price tag was, 2 years at $30 million or whatever, which is respectable corner number 2 money. That's what they get paid, and he wasn't playing it like it for the first couple of weeks, and on film. In his time with Baltimore, he wasn't playing like it either. So everybody said, not worth the price tag, bad Muji signing, didn't know what he was doing. He's made a complete 180. Like, he really has. He's been playing so freaking well in coverage. Feel like every time the ball goes his way, he's batting it down or he's playing good. He's not great at turning his head still. But, Brandon Stevens, man, you got to give him credit. He's making plays. A.Z. Thomas has made major strides, thrust into the starting role when Sauce got traded. And what else can I say? Like, they're playing great.
Been stepping up. Simple as that.
Yep. And, so that'll put a bow on the whole Jets thing. We got Miami this week, real quick. Give me a game score prediction.
I'm going to say, I don't know, man. I feel like the Dolphins are a weird one. Like, I think we could either win or lose by 20, so it's really a tough one. You know what? I'm going to say we lose by a field goal.
Saying lose by field goal? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think it'll be close. I think we're going to compete, but I don't. Yeah.
Hey, man, the last game against Miami, there's specific moments from every game throughout this year that I'll remember. I'll remember Denver at half. Buffalo and Dallas, I'll just remember. I will not remember specific moments. I'll just remember getting blitzed start to finish every second of those games. But for the most part, 7 of the 9 losses, I will remember specific moments in time in which lost us the game. And for that first Miami game, it was Braylon Allen fumbling at the 1-yard line on that opening drive. He just completely ran it down their throats. And that stunted the momentum throughout the rest of the game. I legitimately thought that we should have won that football game if we were to punch that in. Then everything shifted. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, split his ankle. And then, weirdly celebrated it. He's getting carted off because he wants out in Miami. But it's a much different Jets team than it was at that point of the year. But you got to give credit to Miami, man. They went in there. They've competed against Buffalo on the road. They smacked Buffalo at home. They've had a few good wins. They're still alive in this playoff hunt. They probably have to win out. But they still have something to play for. Tua is playing better. To their credit, their run I remember going into that game, their run defense was supposedly the worst in football. They've cleaned that up a little bit. especially on the interior. They're tackling a little bit better, doing some things better. So I'll tip my cap to the Miami. It's two much improved teams at this point of the year. I think we're 2.5 point dogs, which feels about right in this one.
Yeah.
And I think they're a better team than Atlanta is walking into this building, to be honest with you. As we all know, Tua does struggle up in. It's going to be freezing. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be cold. And historically, Tua has struggled in those conditions. He has. So I think I think our defense has been playing better. I want to see them get. If they could put some pressure on Tua, that will change a lot for me. I mean, if they can actually forcefully put a lot of pressure around the pocket there and make him feel uncomfortable with these conditions, maybe get that first, elusive interception of the year, that changes a lot of things. So if they can do that, and I'm banking on the fact they will, Jawan Briggs has been great. I'll look for him to get another sack. Maybe Jermaine, he had 4 against Cleveland. He's been a little bit quiet since then. Look for him to get going again. That Will McDonald, Jermaine's been okay. I think put pressure on Tua, get a couple sacks, get an interception. We're going to win this football game 20-17. It's going to be another tight one. It's going to be another tight one. The Jets, I want to see a blowout win at some point of this year. I want to blow out the Saints, maybe the Jags on the road. We need a blowout win, but I say they win this one tight. It's just the way that they've won in the past. Give me another Nick Folk walk-off in the spirit of the Folk hero. JETS 2017 final score prediction in that one. But they got to put pressure on him. No doubt about it. And keep the momentum going. I mean, these performances from both Mitchell and Mechie have come and gone. Let's see both of them get their share a little bit here. Let's see both of them put up, 60-yard plus games. Let's see Breece Hall utilized in the passing game more consistently. 3 or 4 design screens for him. Let's have Tyrod use his legs when he has to. Let's just try and play complementary football team. And we all know our special teams is going to hold up their end of the bargain because they do it every week. So, yeah, give me the Jets again. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling 4 out of 6. And let's ride. Now, the Giants, they're on the bye. Tom, did you watch Joe Shane's press conference?
I did not. I've seen some videos on the whole thing, and I did see Jackson Dart's perspective on it, but I didn't see I saw Jackson Dart saying that this isn't soccer, and he's not going to change the way he's playing, but we'll get into that. But I didn't get a chance to see Joe Shane's conference about it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I did, and it was petrifying. I mean, it's the bottom's falling out for this team. They're 2-11 or 2-12? I don't even know.
We have more wins than them.
They're officially eliminated from playoff contention. Joe Shane is like 3 out of his last 44 as the general manager of this team. The drama the internal drama going on in that locker room right now with Abdul Carter has reached all-time highs. All of this leak coming out about Abdul Carter and how things have gone over there. The bottom's really fallen out for the G-men. It's as bad as it can get. They just got absolutely blitzed on the road by New England. And, man, you just got to see how the rest of the season plays out. I feel like all Giant fans at this point in time, as far as draft position goes, they will not be looking for a quarterback. They believe in Jackson Dart. But as far as draft position goes, that's what they have their eyes kind of on right now to see. Just snag the best player off the board, get as good as a position as you can. And yeah, it's so ugly. Like, I don't even know which avenue to go down with this team because there's just so much turmoil going on with them right now. But I'll ask you, like Abdul Carter, man, 3rd overall pick in this year's draft, all these high expectations. It looked like the first few weeks the sacks weren't there, but he was really having a heavy impact on the football game. A lot of pressures. Doing some things well, putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, no sacks to show for it. Now, there's all this stuff falling out, him missing mandatory team meetings and walkthroughs and stuff like that, being at red light therapy and all this shit, sleeping through team meetings. He missed the first series against Green Bay, then missed the entire first quarter on Monday night against New England. Like, what do you make of this whole Abdul Carter situation? And do you think that do you still believe Abdul Carter is going to be, gold jacket might be an exaggeration, but like a Pro Bowl. Do you think he's going to be like Kayvon Thibodeau, like generally just a bust, or this is just some antics happening his first year and he can break through it?
That's a tough one. I feel like there's really no excuse why this should be happening more than once. I get if you're a rookie, you make a mistake. It is a red flag in my opinion that it continuously happens because you can't expect to be a top pick and get drafted to a team that's going to win the Super Bowl. That's just not realistic. So it is a red flag, and I do think it's gonna he's gonna have some struggles like that, but I do think he's obviously a very good player and he should be able to turn it around if he gets his mental health right. But if that's going to be the question, can he get his mental health right to start focusing on what he should be focusing on? Because I do think he has a talent, but it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't show up to these meetings and you're not being accountable and doing your job right, nobody else is going to care how good you are.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on, man. I mean, and I think it shows a lot just about the direction of just under the ship that Brian Dable ran over there. The fact that it takes an interim head coach on a, going into a 2-8 or 2-9 team to come in there and put some hands down accountability on this player. For the
Yeah.
interim coach to do that, and the report just came out today that he was being fined by Brian. That was Brian Dable's, lay of the law for Abdul was to fine him. And now you got Mike Kafka, who's actually laying down real accountability, benching him or whatever. Dexter Lawrence getting on the mic saying that he's got to grow up. For an interim coach to have to do that, that just goes to show me at least how much dysfunction was happening within under Brian Dable, right?
Yeah, 100%. You said it spot on. It's just unheard of, to be honest. Like that, I just think Dable knew his job was on the line and he wanted to do
Yeah,
anything to
that's
win,
it. I mean,
even if it wasn't making the right decisions as a head coach and holding players accountable. He just thought he had a better chance with winning with them, even if he was doing all this stuff. So it
yeah,
just
all right.
shows the Giants organization as a whole.
Yeah, all right. Just a couple quick more things to hit on here. That Patriots game was just, I was actually, because here's one thing, and we all know it. We live in New York. We're Jet fans, but, this is the New York sports take. I watch the Giants. I read about the Giants. I've been following them all season here. They are the best 2-11 team I've ever seen. They really
Yeah.
are. They're not the worst team in football, talent-wise on paper. Yes, they stink. We acknowledge they stink. There's dysfunction all over. They need a new coach. Their defense is the biggest disappointment maybe in my lifetime. But the on-paper talent there with Brian Burns and Wandale Robinson, since Neighbors went down, this guy's been brilliant. Even Theo Johnson, to me, has shown major strides. I love Theo Johnson's game. He's such a major threat catching passes over the middle. Big physical tight end. I think he's a key part of why Dart's had success in the passing game. It's his best friend on the team.
I saw he stood up for him when Dark got decked.
Yeah, we're
Theo
going to talk
Johnson
about
was
that.
right
But
there.
I'm kind of leading into that right now. But I think, what was it, Tom? I mean, it was 30. It was 30-7 at half, or maybe it was worse than that.
It was pretty bad.
31-7 at half, I believe. It was just an absolute bloodbath. And the Patriots came into that game ready to, I don't even know, bludgeon. Like, it was just the biggest bludgeoning of a football game I've ever watched. They were laying down hit. I'm talking to my roommate Johnny over here. I'm like, how about the hits Jackson Dart take? He just says, which one? I mean, there was so many throughout that game. He was taking hit after hit after hit. And the one that really stood out to me was the first one where, he's going down the sideline there and he stays in bounds. And Spillane, I think it was Spillane on the Patriots? No. Number 4, the white linebacker kid, I think
I
number
forget his
40.
name, but he hit him pretty good.
He absolutely bludgeoned him, the helmet to helmet there, and then, But this is the game, like you said, Tom, that Dart's used to playing this game his entire life. This is all he's known, is this type of physicality, taking these kind of hits. And he'll learn. I think Josh Allen was like this his first year, too. There's a learning curve. There's a developmental curve here. So yeah, he'll always be that aggressive type quarterback like that Josh Allen, but he's reckless. He's simply reckless. He has to learn how to tone it down. I think he will over time. It's just part of that development process for him. The more hits he takes like this, and we've seen it affect him now. He missed a couple games in the concussion protocol, so it's something he has to learn. I love so many other things I've seen from his game, and I do really think he will hone it in at some point. But until he does, it's just going to continue to be something that he gets asked about and something that is a concern for this team. Both these kids, him and Scatterwood, the physical type play styles that they have. So that's just where it's at right now with them. And what's your take on it? Like, do you think it's something? Do you think that this is going to be something that are you seriously concerned about going forward, or something that, like me, that he'll hone in?
I think I think there's a fine line because like you don't want him to stop being aggressive and doing all the things that he's been doing because he's been great. Like you said, I just think he needs to learn how to slide a little bit. And I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. Like I'm sure the coaches are telling him this, and I think he'll be smart enough to come to a realization where he can balance all the good things he's doing, being aggressive, with just learning how to slide and avoiding the big hits because you want to be playing quarterback for a long time, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm
Last
sure
thing.
Russell Wilson's given him will be in his ear too about that as well.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, good point. I think I did see after that first Giant series or whatever, Jackson was headed back towards after the hit. Giants, whatever happened, they turned the ball over, punted. I can't even remember. And as Jackson was heading towards the bench, you could see Joe Buck was kind of mouthing it, like Russell's telling him to just relax, be composed, get to the sideline there. Russell's a veteran. He was a very mobile, physical type quarterback back in his day. So, at least he's got him in his ear there. But I don't know, man. And like you said, you don't want to lock him up in a cage because that's part of the way he plays and that's part of what makes him so dynamic. But he has to tune it down. And until you can really, really get super excited about this kid, you need to see him take that maturity level a little bit. And I talked about the other things he does well, the poise, especially at the line of scrimmage, the way that he directs guys and whatever. I think he does such a great job of that. I think his arm talent's ridiculous. His accuracy's been so good. I mean, wait till they bring in a coach, man, and they can get the ship right. I really think this team's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And last question. This is a growing thing I'm seeing on Twitter and whatever with Dart. And I just think it's stupid. I'm not even going to answer it because I want you to confirm first. Would you sit him at this point in time? 2-11, whatever. The season's over. Would you sit him?
No.
No, you can't, right? He's a rookie.
No, you drafted him to be your guy. I mean, you want him to end the season out well. Yes, you do want him to slide more and do those things, but I wouldn't bench him because he's your guy going forward. You bench him if you don't think he's your guy going forward. He's not a 10-year vet. He's a rookie. He's got to play football and learn from his mistakes and keep growing on everything he's doing. Well,
Rookies will be rookies. That's the way it is.
yeah.
I mean, they're going to make mistakes. There's going to be growing pains in some area or for another. And for him, it's this physicality thing. I do think he'll hone it in. But anyway, Tom, it was great chatting with you. I mean, an hour and 15 minutes went by, but I thought that was pretty solid.
I thought it was a great episode and we covered a lot of New York sports, man. People should really like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. The Knicks have. I'm trying to think. Who do they play next? I can't remember off the top of my dome. I think we're going on the road. Can't remember. Jets, Dolphins this week. We're in our Gotham jerseys, the special game. Tom says they lose by 3. I say they win by 3. One way or another, though, Jets have hung tight against really good teams. They beat some bad teams. Miami is above. They're more talented. They're favored, and rightfully
Yeah.
so. They're the better
Yeah.
team. Vegas is usually right about these things, but I do expect another really close game, and I'm looking forward to it, man. But Tom, great talking to you as always. I want to thank our audience if they're still all the way here at the end of this marathon with us. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back very soon with another episode. Signing off for now, MOC and Tom
Peace.
Fitz. See ya.